back to the Old Time Fiddler. I'm here with my dear friend Jess. I knew you as Jess McIntosh, but what's your last name now?
Baldissero.
Baldissero, Jess Baldissero. And for loyal listeners, you heard me talk about Jess with our first episode's guest, Libby Whitenauer. Jess was Libby's first teacher. Jess helped me pick out my forever fiddle when we were both teaching at the Old Town School. We passed this back and forth in the East Building lobby, and hearing you play it sealed the deal for me that I was going to buy this fiddle. So, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to see you again.
Thank you, buddy. It's
It's
so
been
nice
a
to see
minute.
you. Yeah.
The
I was
other,
definitely not Libby's first teacher. I was the first person who played old time music with her one on one, I think. She
yeah,
had many beautiful violin teachers before me.
yeah, she's such a great player. I want to know, when did you just start playing old time? Because I don't even know if I even know that answer.
Yeah, I am kind of the rare, like, didn't know it existed until I was like 16. I don't know, but I played violin since I was 5 and kind of started playing old time music more after high school and college. hmm
Cool. What was your who or what like was your gateway into old time then?
Um, it's a long and winding path, but I played in like a sort of a bluegrass trio in high school, which was really like maybe people who are students and stuff will feel inspired by this, but I was certain I wasn't going to continue playing violin after high school. I was kind of like, I'm doing these lessons and this is fun, but like I don't know if this is my thing. And just like then had a few friends who played like fiddle music. They just like covered old Crow songs and like Johnny Cash songs and Neil Young and they were like, "You play the violin, like you could play fiddle, right?" And they happened to be boys who I thought were cute, so I was like, "Yeah, I could do that." And the little social element of that sort of carried me, and I was like listening to all this music I'd never heard before. I didn't grow up around like any kind of fiddle music. My dad liked pop country, but then I started that band, went to Mark O'Connor's fiddle camp. That was my like first time seeing traditional music and realizing that fiddle music wasn't just like scratchy violin sounds. It was like, oh, there's a tradition with different genres. And like, I will never forget every class I went to. It was like Bruce Malsky, Aubrey Haney, Michael Cleveland, Buddy Spiker doing Western Swing. Yeah, so like I realized, oh, there's all this type of thing, and that's where I first jammed, and then I went to East Tennessee State University in college to like get more understanding of it, but I was really still just observing. And then came back to Wisconsin where I'm from and like was studying Spanish and social work. That's what my degrees are in, and started a jam at a local coffee shop of old time music. It was like I knew like 10 tunes, and I was like, let's host a jam. So we did. And that's just sort of like one little thing carried me through to the next thing of here I am a professional fiddler and I don't know how it happened.
Amazing. Two
Yeah.
questions from that. I went to Mark O'Connor's fiddle camp only once. It was the one year there was no old time instruction, which was good for me. I was just telling Alex Hargraves this. He was
Yeah.
down playing with Billy Strings, and I went to Mark O'Connor's camp once and only once. I was
Mhm.
already playing old time, but it gave me a chance to study jazz with Sarah Caswell and Daryl Anger. I saw Buddy Spiker was there with Billy Contreras, who's about the same age, maybe a year or two younger, sitting
I
in.
bet you we were there the same year, Matt.
What year were you there?
It had to be like oh 04, oh 05, like
This was 99 for me. And it was the one
okay,
year Bruce and Judy Hyman were kind of alternating. And except that one year, there was zero old time.
old time. That's
Yeah.
funny. Yeah, Alex Hargraves was there, Brittany Haas was there. They were all like teacher helpers at that point. They were like my age or whatever, but they were like clearly, they do this.
Right. They've already
I
done
was,
this a
what
couple.
is this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
that's amazing. The
yeah.
second question, I've already lost it.
When did I start playing old time was the first.
No, there was a follow-up that has just dissipated into the ether about Mark O'Connor's fiddle camp. Oh,
Oh, yeah.
oh no, I remember what it was. You said you started a jam back home in Wisconsin. with about 10 tunes in your old time repertoire. How many of those 10 can you remember? Like, can you name up to 10 of those tunes? Like, what were your first 10 old time tunes?
Yeah, so that was after I went to ETSU too. And so like some of the first old time tunes I played, I remember were Ducks on the Mill Pond and we played Midnight on the Water, the Waltz. We played I think Big Scioto. We played like there's a lot that I still play, truly. Little Donny. That was like the first old time fiddle lesson I had was with Sammy Lind.
Oh,
Um, and he taught me Little Donny and we worked on Ducks on the Mill Ponds. I don't know. I was like, yeah, I still hang on to a lot of those. Cider,
yes.
still playing that. Played at a gig last night. Like funny. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
they've
And
changed.
yeah, right. Fast forward to when did you come to Chicago? Because I met you in Chicago. I met you, you were playing in my favorite band in Chicago, Big Sadie, and then you went on tour with Al Scorch, and I got to be you in Big Sadie for a long time. But like, what brought you to Chicago, which is where you and I met?
Coincidentally, that jam at the Turk's Head Coffee House in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, uh, the only guy that regularly showed up every week, his name was Ralph Sukting, and he had a daughter, Anna Sukting,
Oh
who
my,
lived in Chicago. And we hung out with Ralph for like 3 years before we even knew he had kids. He told us about Augusta, and he drove me and my partner at the time, Shane, to Augusta. And that's how we like met so many of the people. Like, I ended up being a staff musician there like 2 years later as we met Kristen Andreasen and taught at her camp out in New Hampshire and like Nick Garris and we played like the staff, whatever. So like I met Ralph who took us to Augusta and really like opened up my world of old time music. And then he was like, "Hey, you should meet my kids sometime. I think they're like it was our his 60th birthday party and we met Anna and Jonas and we were like, we're thinking about moving to Chicago. I was gonna do social work. My partner was into improv comedy and played music, and we both played together. So I was like, maybe we'll do that. And then a job came open at the Old Town School, and Ralph's daughter, Anna, remembered that there was this girl, Jess, from Wisconsin who was thinking about moving to Chicago. So I auditioned and got the job teaching kids fiddle at Old Town. I
that's
was like 2013.
okay. Yeah, and you and I overlapped at Old Town from 2013 to 2019 when Sally and I left Chicago to
Yeah.
go to the mountains. And yeah, um, that's so cool. I know you're not doing so much teaching now these
Yep.
days, but a lot of the people who are watching this are currently learning fiddle. Probably
Yeah.
most adults learning fiddle. What do you what do you recommend to them about like going to their first old time jam? Like what do you feel like are the highlights of like you're going to go to an old time jam for the first time? Like what do you think they should know about the first jam of their life and hopefully not last?
Yeah, I mean, as I was reflecting about jamming, prepping for this interview, I was thinking about how many years I spent going to jams and not playing.
Right.
Um, Maybe out of fear, but or just getting to know it, but also like I think it's a jam is very much a like about relationships and communication and respect for boundaries and like their shared history as a group of people. And so like enter into a jam, and there's so many different kinds of jams. Like if you're talking an organized, scheduled, regular jam or just like someone's house or whatever. But any kind of jam has a community that's like good to just observe the
Yeah.
way you would a human like interaction relationship. It's not like nobody's expecting anything of you when you go to a jam, um, unless you're like you hold a fiddle and nobody else is holding a fiddle, then they're probably going to expect you to like well, but yeah, it's definitely like a situation that's just important to try to show up as yourself in. And if you know that they have a lot of shared history that you're not aware of, like take a minute to listen and figure it out a little bit and then like decide if you feel like entering or, maybe it's all your best friends. And so you just haven't done this thing before. And so you're going to like jump right in and that'd be welcome. But yeah.
That's a really beautiful thought. Right before we recorded this, I had a lesson with one of the Patreon fiddlers, Akeen, who has a couple questions for you that you'll be fielding.
Cool.
Um, and he and I were talking about jams, and he's going to jams in his community, and it reminded me that when I was growing up, and I was fortunate to grow up in an old time scene. Like my dad was already in our local Pennsylvania scene, and so I just grew up with jams in our home and
Yeah.
the homes of his bandmates, basically. But they were,
Yeah.
they weren't exclusive to his band. Um, all of my memories, all these years later, of those are the social interactions at those jams. Not, I don't remember like all the times we played Ducks in the Mill Pond, or
Never remember the tunes. I mean, though I'll record a few and maybe remember them, but
right,
that'd be
right.
it.
But the like lifelong memories that I'm still carrying around from growing up, going to old time jams in southeastern Pennsylvania are actually the social interactions and
Yeah.
like my first no second like relationship like kind of blossomed from this cute girl that I met at these jams, and like kind of like the like building that friendship and then like romantic relationship as like a in my late teens, like
Hmm.
all of the interpersonal stuff. And then there was delicious food at the monthly jam that everyone went to. Was a potluck, and the host made this incredible roast turkey, like brined and roasted turkey, every
Yes.
month, like 12 months of the year, not just in November. Like I remember the food, I remember the people, I remember feeling kind of happy and at home. I remember hanging out with Rafe Stefanini's daughter, Clelia, uh,
Hmm.
before she started playing. Like she was just a girl being dragged to this thing by her parents, and we had like
Oh,
I remember a very not gross, but just kind of like hilarious joke that she told. Like to this day, I do not remember a single music making experience, which is all to
yeah.
say, like jam
Hmm.
community events, they're social events,
Yeah.
can be scary when you've not led a tune before. But if you go into it knowing that you're going to get to be around other people who love some of the same music that you love, and they tend to be nice, kind people, then it can be a really wonderful addition to a person's life.
Yeah. I think the things that are like scariest about that for a lot of people, like going to a jam, are like, what's going to be expected of me? What do I have to do? And the answer is like nothing. But if you do want to lead a tune at the jam, I think like the few things are like be able to start the tune, be able to end the tune, like know the basic structure that you could explain if literally no one has played it and you definitely have to play that tune. Like maybe don't pick that tune, but then just like also like keep a tempo. Practice with a metronome at home and make sure that you can like play that tune for 5 whole minutes without straying too much and just like try to find that in your walking. Figure out where that tempo is that you want to play it and keep it. And that's like those are some good fiddler things if you really want to play at the jam.
Those are great.
Yeah.
As you know, in this show, I ask each guest to share with us two videos of them playing so we can hear your fantastic music. I'm gonna ask if you could make your tune in 4/4 time. Can you pick something that like you love playing at a jam that feels kind of like jam safe? It doesn't have to be the most obvious tune, but it's like a friendly tune that Jess can call at most jams and that usually goes well, and you could share with us so we can learn it and play with you next time we see you at a jam.
Yes. Yeah,
What's
definitely.
what tune do you think this will be?
Um, the tune I was thinking of sharing is called "Shaking Down the Acorns."
Oh, yeah.
But it's maybe not the most basic. It's not complicated chord wise, but I think it's a very groovy, like exciting, feels crooked but isn't, which I love.
Let's do it. I
Yeah,
cannot wait. Everyone can pause the chat and
yeah,
click the link below. Jess shaking down all the acorns at once.
yeah,
Uh, that's an Ed and Hammond's tune or Hammond's family tune, depending on sourcing.
yeah.
Um, do you find yourself drawn to particular source fiddlers or kinds of tunes? Like, where does your like fiddle heart go if you had to map out like Jess's favorite sources or kinds of tunes? Like, do you have?
Yeah. I've definitely like come to that through like the side door as well, I think, where like because I didn't sort of like grow up in the mindset of the tradition of old time music, like so many things were like based on my firsthand experience and then like going back to find the breadcrumbs and like discovering the sources. But yeah, like I've figured out based on stuff I played for a long time and then realized it was all similar. That I definitely like a lot of West Virginia tunes. Um, and I think I tend to like things that are round peaky for sure, because those are maybe the social experiences that were most exciting for me were like those types of like churning, levitating, continuous dance music jams. Um, but yeah, I also really just love like solo West Virginia fiddling that's very crooked and like out there. And that happens to be where some of my first memories of learning music are. So there's like an inordinate amount of that or that region type of fiddling, I think, in my favorites.
Because of those years you've spent at Augusta, you mean?
Yeah, yeah, and just like I think a lot of the locals like would tip me off to people that were like inspiring to them, and like also like Eastern Kentucky fiddling. I think some of my very most favorite old time memories are at Cowan Creek. Oopsies, did that just end our meeting? No.
There we go.
In Whitesburg, and just like jamming, doing impromptu dances everywhere. Like got to jam with Bruce Green. His playing is some of my absolute favorite. Sophie mentioned that too, and yeah, was just super inspired by experiences, like you said, more than knowing as much about it. I think
Right.
my fiddle heart is very like interested in the act of playing it and then learning what I can. But
Well, and honestly, like, we have like an embarrassment of riches now with all the internets and recorded technology. But,
mm,
if you think about it, originally there was only firsthand experience. So I don't think you need to feel any like shame or embarrassment or whatever about like your path to your favorite music being through like your actual encounters, because that's how
that's
that's how all those people got.
always felt kind of right. Yeah, it's like it's what it is. Like we have the duty of discovering the history of it and also like talking about the history of it, a lot of which is very like bigoted and disgusting, and like the sources are pretty much lies half the time because we're omitting half the population in that storytelling. But I think like for me the biggest thing has always been I liked the way that Dan played that, and that's how I play it, or whatever.
And that, as long as this music has been played by people, that has been the main transmission line. I feel like, even though we now have access to, you know we can jump back several generations and listen to like our heroes thanks to
Yeah.
just passage of time and all the recorded technology. This show is sponsored by Seaman Violins. Since 1989, Seaman Violins in Skokie, Illinois has offered a wide range of instruments and accessories that suit every level. Their staff comprises professional violin makers, all graduates of the esteemed Chicago School of Violin Making. Their clientele ranges from Chicagoland school kids to Andrew Bird. You can learn more by visiting SeamanViolins.com. That's SEMAN violins.com. Before we end, which is a long way out, I do want to make sure I ask you about what you're currently up to, because I think I always like to hear current projects from folks. But
Yeah.
another portion of the Patreon project and this conversation series is about dancing and playing for dancing. And you and I had maybe the world's shortest lived dance band, called the Age Rangers. Do you remember Age Rangers?
Yes.
What we
Age Rangers. I forgot.
I think we played one gig, or two, but we had a great photo shoot of you and me and Paul Tyler and Steve Rosen, and we played maybe one at max two gigs. So I've played dances with you, but I know like you've played for theater, you've played for dancers. You just
Yeah.
mentioned loving like the round peak repertoire, which is very like square, like kind of turbocharged for square dance playing and flat footing. So kind of an
Yeah.
open thing. Like what do you like about playing fiddle for dancers? Let's just start there.
Um, I mean, it just feels like home on the fiddle, like to be surrounded by feet, especially on a wood floor, like pounding the beat all together. Like there is just nothing like it. It's my absolute favorite thing.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, there's a lot of things that I feel like very alive playing, but that's definitely the number one. It's like I just feel like this seething like ball of light when I'm playing dances
Yeah.
because it really is this kind of like sacred thing that we're all levitating together at one time. Um, and yeah, it's that's pretty sweet. I I think like I don't even remember the entirety of the question, but that's how I feel when I play dances. Was it what else am I doing right now or just like
We're gonna save what else for the very
okay,
end because
I got
I
distracted.
want people to leave this conversation and go check out some of how they can experience your music making now. But yeah, let's stay in the dance space for a
Yeah.
minute because I knew you loved dances and playing for dancing. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's so well put. Did you ever have the experience that I had that playing for dancing as the fiddler can be like physically quite exhausting and
Yeah.
draining to like lead
Yeah.
that for 3 hours? Have you had that?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you do to like kind of preserve your energy and your body to play for dancing? Because I find it to be as rewarding as you said, but also like it takes the biggest toll potentially on my like posture and my body as the fiddler.
You know, I think when I started playing dances is when it really hit me like, oh boy, this is like not as easy as just playing a tune, you know, like I know that tune well, but it's really an endurance game. And so I like started noticing things like my index finger would be like rock hard and black afterward, and I'd have like rosin gunk all over my thumb because of like overplaying with my bow and being excited. Like that's who I am. I'm overly excited to play. And so I was like really chomping at it. But I noticed my bow hold changed. Like I
Yeah.
think I would always be sort of more here and just like playing for dances. I started ended up being here and just like two finger kind of grip because it allowed so many more muscle groups to just kind of go on autopilot and relax a little bit and let the bow do some work. Um, but yeah, I certainly try to pick tunes that I know I have a variety of like things that excite me that are new, but also ones that are like back pocket, like you said, I could just play and not really think, or I know that there are some longer strokes in it, I can rest a little bit, or yeah, one that I know my guitar player knows really well and they could maybe flat pick around of it and I can just drone a little bit, something like that. Um, then also I would say just making variations. That was the last thing I was thinking. It was like sometimes I'll, yeah, open up the strokes and just kind of play through the like whatever stack of notes are in that chord. And then it is exciting for the dancers in the room when we like come back to hitting that melody again. I wouldn't do that early on and like save it for when your people know what's happening and it won't throw the collar off for the people dancing. But once you're kind of in a groove, you can, it requires you to know the chords.
That's a good point. Yeah, if you want to open up that space of just like playing over the changes more like a bluegrass or a jazz player, like you do need to know your chords and what arpeggios or scales you can kind of live out of for that. I want to zoom in on something you said about the bow though, because I don't want to
Yeah.
blast past it. So you like choke up on your bow more like Raina Gellert when you play for a dance? Is that like to this day, is that true? Or is that just like something? Oh, okay.
Like pretty much unconsciously. And I mean, now I'm very conscious of it, but I think I do it also just when I'm playing old time more. I tend to like just, I'm there. I don't know why. It just feels less accessible to me here. It's like I'm teaching here always, but then I'm always telling my students, like, play for 10, 15 years the right way. And then if you want, you can decide to move it around. But it just, I don't know, man. It just ends up being there. Is that,
That's amazing. There's a lot of interest amongst patrons about bow stuff.
yeah.
And you helped me pick this fiddle. What does Jess
Yeah.
look for in a bow for playing old time music?
Um, I kind of have always struggled, you know, the differences are very subtle. I've always struggled to like really feel a big difference personally, but I have one limited myself to choosing from carbon fiber bows because I've broken a lot of bows and they're expensive. And I think just like I appreciate a little bit of a heavier tip. I know that from like my friends at the bow store helping me understand what I like. But don't feel crazy if you can't tell the difference. It's subtle. It You should like just trust your gut, I think, is the answer. Like play things that you really like, and if you feel something is inhibiting you, if you feel more like yourself or more exuberant with one bow, like trust it and don't worry about what that means or what kind of like you're locked into. I like this kind of bow. But I mean, I think if bows are too bouncy or too light, I tend to lose my grounding as a fiddler, and so I like a little bit of weight. Um, I have played with really nice bows that I've just never been able to afford and been like, oh, this makes a really big difference. Um, that's another big piece of advice. If you're wondering whether to spend your money on a bow or a violin, spend it on a nicer bow. Because bows are really important. They make a big difference. It's like kind of overlooked.
It's so true.
If you have
I
like a couple hundred extra dollars to spend, it's not going to get you that much farther in a violin, but it will get you farther in a bow.
That's a really good point. I'm glad to hear
Mhm.
you say about carbon fiber bows. Like just in our lifetimes, carbon fiber bows have gotten so good.
Yeah.
Um, and I've directed a number of students, including some people who are going to watch this, to like basically the nicest carbon fiber bow they can afford because
Yeah.
that's also that like to all of your points there. I feel like the money goes the farthest, even just a little bit more money goes the farthest in the carbon fiber department. Uh,
True. Yeah.
yeah. And I've always thought, I don't know, do you agree with this? I've always thought about like matching the bow to the violin
Hmm.
rather than thinking that it's like some people have made the illusion of like, oh, it's like in Harry Potter where like the wand chooses the wizard or whatever. But like I feel like for me, I like to match a bow to a fiddle rather than choose it kind of in isolation. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Well, there's certainly like they affect one another.
Right.
And I think that you will run into like, I personally have played the same violin since I was 12 years old and love it. But I have played many other instruments for short periods of time. And yeah, all the tools will feel a little like they'll make the other one sound a little or feel a little different
Right.
for sure. So don't completely omit that from your decision making maybe. But yeah.
I guess part of it is that when I'm advising like a student to buy, I try to steer them away from buying both at once.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like it's better to like upgrade one and then have a constant, like maybe get a better bow but keep the
Great
fiddle.
idea. Yeah.
Because trying to pick both
Accurate.
is just that's a lot of variables at once.
Yeah, I've helped students shop for violins, and I think mo many violin shops will like you focus the experience on buying the violin, and then they'll like throw the bow in, and it's like wait, take some time to pick the instrument, yeah, and then like this is another instrument that you're going to like be using to bring out the best in this one. So like, yeah, I think that's good advice. Stagger it.
Yeah. And I feel like it's kind of like with guitar players, like people will shop for a guitar. I'm looking over there because that's where mine is. And
Hmm.
cycle through, like they might start with this kind of pick and maybe like, oh, I'm gonna spend $20 or $30 on this tone slabs pick. But like you can buy a guitar and then not be finished in your pick search. And as someone who plays like you do, like guitar and fiddle, like I feel like it's okay to not feel like you have to get everything at once. Like pick a violin or upgrade your bow, like you're talking about, and you'll notice a difference.
Yeah.
To circle back to the dance part, as you know, in this series, I love to hear what waltzes fiddlers will play at a dance. So, will you tell us about the waltz that we're going to watch you play and why you love it to play for dances, or why you just love it as a piece? Because I love waltzes. I love dancing them. I love playing them. What waltz do you want to share with us?
I also love waltzes and like don't retain enough of them. I think many fiddlers probably say that. But I chose the waltz Midnight on the Water, which I've been playing for a very long time and does truly follow that thread of like not sure where I first heard it, but think I've been playing it for like 20 years. And then through a student was like sort of led to the Benny Luke Thomason original like drop D cross tune, and I was just like and so I fell in love with it all over again. So I'm gonna share it in that tuning a little closer to the Benny Thomason playing, but yeah, it still has some elements of like how I learned it and heard it over college and early Chicago years. So
Amazing. So you'll be in DDAD tuning?
yes, yeah.
Amazing. All right, everyone, pause the video and waltz to Jess down there. Um, I'm so excited about that.
Yeah.
All right. Before we talk about everything Jess is doing now in the modern era, I do want to talk briefly about you spent so many years teaching both kids and adults, and a
Hmm.
kid who I just had a lesson with wanted to ask you, kind of as Jess, the longtime teacher, he asks, what is the most exciting thing about seeing someone enter music or experience music as music makers for the first time?
Wow. The most exciting thing for me about seeing people, like remembering being there and remembering how like life-giving it feels to just like open up that new like part of your brain and be like, oh, I get it, or I can make that sound I was trying to hear, or like, uh, yeah, just like wishing that there was a way to like be at this next level, and then like watching people kind of slowly get there, like, and just remembering like, oh yeah, I wanted to give up then too,
Right.
but don't do it, like, so it's like kind of selfish maybe actually, but that's they asked what was the most rewarding for me, and I think that's, yeah, it feels really good to like be next to somebody doing such a human thing, and just also that like whether it's an adult or a kid developmentally, like it's a huge deal to devote that amount of your time, and the things you could be doing otherwise, be like being a student. I mean, you're a student at everything when you're a kid, but especially when I have adult students, I feel really inspired by their like showing up and doing this thing that they're like not getting paid for. They are spending their hard-earned money to like just make art, and that's really cool.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to ask you, given that you've worked with both populations, like what do you like about working with kid learners, and then what do you like about working with adult learners as a teacher?
I feel a really like special connection to teaching youth, because so much of that work, I mean, I think as somebody who like studied social work, is very much like, when you're studying music as a kid, it's not necessarily because it's you feel a calling to do it, or because you're on a certain track. It's like just part of your human development, as like your soul development, and so in that way, I feel like it's like the closest thing to like helping people find their place in the world, which is like pretty sacred work. But
Yeah.
and I think it requires a ton of organization and like a ton of sort of like pedagogical intellectual thinking to teach youth. So it's like, and a lot of energy. It's very exhausting. I
Yeah.
think the things about teaching adults that I love are that it can feel like this, like I mean, I'm learning from kids too, but this sort of like two-way balm of like, here we are, like two grown-ups trying to do this thing, and to see people like, yeah, either working through stuff that I'm not that long ago remember working through, or being able to like speak in metaphors a little bit more deeply and like explore artistically the nature of things. I just feel like so many versions of stuff or things I've learned have come about because a student brought it to me and was like, "Can I work through this with you?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And that, yeah, I learned a whole new thing I love, you know, their outside experience kind of coming into it.
I can relate so much. Like to this day, I'm most of my career is teaching grown-ups music, and I really am seeing it more and more when I'm working with another adult. Like it feels like teamwork. Like I know maybe more about the fiddle or the banjo or the guitar than they do, but some of these folks are our parents' age or older, and so
Yeah.
more life experience than me. They're some of them are like, top of their field in their main thing that they do,
Yeah.
and or they're retired and they have these incredible stories. And so like we get to work on this project together as like to like equals in a lot of respects, or like in some ways I'm like looking up to them,
Yeah.
but we can talk to each other as equals. Like, oh, Tracy, you want to do X, Y, and Z. Let's. There's a lot of like problem solving. There's a lot of collaboration, and like,
Yeah.
how are you doing this for the past 7 days? Like, oh, interesting. Like, and the student can usually like the self-reporting and the discipline and the organization. It isn't just on me. Like when it's with a kid, it's like I have to own all of that. When I'm working with like an airline pilot or like someone who like manages a team of 12 at their job, like it feels like two peers working on a complicated but rewarding project. And I find that so fulfilling. And I learn as much from my students, grown-ups, as I do when I teach kids, and kind of remember that like, oh wow, like they're still developing in every way. They
Yeah.
have a lot more like access to just like instant joy and goofiness. And like a lot of that's been trained out of me. Like I learned so much from teaching kids, but working with grown-ups now that I am ostensibly one is like it's so fulfilling. And like I don't find grown-up teaching very exhausting, especially one-on-one, because I feel like they're bearing a lot of the weight and we're collaborating a lot of the time.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's well put, and like it is inspiring in the way that it like says something about how powerful music is, that these like people with all these opportunities and like, whatever they're doing in their lives are like they understand the importance of what we're trying to do too. Yeah.
Right.
It's it's nice. Yeah.
Right. All right. Before we go, and we have plenty of time for this, but I wanted to save time for you to just tell me, because I don't actually know, and any viewer and watcher, like what is Jess up to now in your creative space as an artist, as a musician, a multi-instrumentalist? Like tell us everything. And it doesn't have to be just about old time, because what I'm noticing is all of my guests, like we all share the love of old time music, and we've all jammed together and will again, but every one of them is also operating in other musical genres and creative spaces. So just open-ended, tell us what's Jess up to and how can we maybe listen to your music or enjoy your music in the modern era.
Well, I am, thank you for asking that. Why you should pay attention to anything I've said. No, I am currently in Chicago, and I'm mostly working local gigs at the moment. I do a lot of like pickup gigs with just like the house honky tonk band for a queer two-stepping night called Swapping Boots at Judson and Moore. Playing with like 10 to 20 local old time or like country folk whatever bands, like anytime people need a fiddler, Big Sadie, Scorch, Mulefoot, doing a lot of holiday shows coming up. But then, yeah, like beyond that kind of like side work this year, I've done a lot of touring with this artist, Buffalo Nichols, who's an incredible experimental blues artist, and just like had some really neat chances to play like big shows with them, and also like, yeah, experiment with lots of different like soundscapes and pedals and looping and stuff like that. And I have been developing a like workshop series and performance piece centered around caregiving, and I've like been doing a more like ambient and improvised sound scores for movement. Those it's like yeah, it ended up in a couple festivals this year, a performance piece with
Hey,
these other dancers and musicians who are mothers or parents or caregivers. And so recently, having become a mother 2.5 years ago, I've kind of like shifted my don't teach as much, but have like been really lucky to find that outlet for making art in Chicago. It's been cool. I got a D-Case grant this year. That was fun.
amazing. I got a DCase grant for my On Big Shoulders album. That's the Department of Cultural Affairs and
Yeah,
Special Events.
in Chicago. Yeah.
Think
Yeah.
it's NEA money, RIP to the NEA, but that comes to the city of Chicago and then gets dispersed. Is that
The artists.
uh,
Yeah.
the artist? I love that Chicago has that program. I benefited from it. Jess
Yeah.
it has
It's
um,
really beautiful.
with a with an Eau Claire connection. Actually, I'm going to
Yeah.
mention. Have you yet heard Courtney Hartman's brand new project about caregiving and all of that?
Yeah. Yeah, I got a chance. I saw her play at the Empty Bottle last time she was in town, and she's actually married to one of my college friends. Yeah,
My God. He helped like our permaculture situation in our backyard out here.
it's beautiful. Yeah, I was so excited to see she was making that record, and have always been a fan of hers, but hadn't met her. Like a lot of old Eau Claire connections, they're like Ben Lester and Sean Carey, and like my partner was Shane Leonard, so like we all used to play together, and like Justin and producer Brian Joseph, that like little circle. I when I saw her, I was like, "Hey, Eau Claire College Symphony Orchestra buddies." So yeah, another time, but that project is really beautiful. And then like, um, other than that, I've been recording a lot too. Like, did a couple tracks this weekend for a local songwriter and recording for Buffalo Nichols, trying to finish like some very long written Joybird songs, which is my original music project.
Oh, wow, cool.
There are like 18 unreleased songs from the last 6 years that I've just would love to release soon. So I'm slowly sort of like at home in between naps and stuff, ticking away at that. You can find mostly posting about stuff on Instagram right now, Jess Baldissero. And almost done with my website, which hasn't been up since before I had the baby either. But eventually you'll be able to see my gigs and stuff there, but mostly on Instagram these days.
Amazing. I will.
Get it together and take some notes on yours. I'll maybe have a Patreon soon too.
Amazing. Well, if you want, we can Zoom about Patreon. I'm the one who convinced Adam Hurt to launch his Clawhammer Patreon, and he got like in the first weekend that he launched, he got so many signups, and it's amazing. It's amazing that Patreon exists.
Hey, good. He should. He's
Exactly.
incredible.
Exactly. I'm one of them. I think I was the first one actually. That one of the but Patreon is great because
Yeah.
it allows fans of artists, or in this case, students. In my case, like I can teach a couple hundred people every month without having to schedule that many Zooms every week between
Yeah.
one and my fiddle one. And it is not a parasocial relationship like some people have accused it of being. Not to give air
That's
to.
nice to hear. Like you feel like you get
I
I don't know what the word is, like engagement that feels supportive and social and not like
I do because
transactional. That's good.
I've heard this from other Patreon music educators in particular.
Yeah.
Like my friend Adam is a touring jazz guitarist, and like he'll have people come up to him at shows and say like, I'm on your Patreon, and like I've learned so much about jazz guitar thanks to you. Like
Well,
I've met and taught in person some of my patrons as they've like, taken a trip through or to Louisville where I'm based. And
yeah.
some of the people become weekly or monthly, Zoom students one-on-one. So uh,
Mhm.
it's a great thing. I highly recommend it to you and other fantastic creators like yourself, with the caveat that we should all, I think, on Patreon do one thing at a time. So I launched mine during the COVID-19 shutdown, lockdown atrocity.
Yeah.
I tried to do everything at once. Like I had a podcast, I did some fiddle stuff, some banjo stuff, some guitar stuff. And then I realized in that first year that I needed to just winnow it down to one thing. And so it became just where I taught two finger banjo arrangements. And then the aforementioned Adam Hurt recently told me, like, Matt, you really need to have an old time fiddle one, which is why I now have also a separate Patreon experience just for old time fiddle lessons, because not everyone wants to learn two finger banjo and old time fiddle at the same time. I foolishly thought they'd all want that at the same time. But just yeah, to you and to anyone else, like pick one
Oh, yeah.
um and do it as well as you do all the things you do. But like even for those of us who are like multi-instrumentalists or multi-style players, it's tempting to just like
E-
make a too broad of a thing. But for any of you who want to start a Patreon, I'd say pick one thing that you know a lot about or love that you love very much. Um,
I continuously lost in the forest and not seeing any trees. That's
yeah,
that's me. I'm like,
just one
I did
aspect.
everything.
Yeah, I want to be respectful of your time.
Yeah.
And I'm going to end with one very specific question. So, for those of us recording at home, this is a microphone. I am currently recording all three of my instruments on, apparently, I'm not a gearhead, but apparently I'm using an Audio Technica 4051A that I stole from my dad. What are you currently using to record your fiddle at home?
I am using an Audio Technica as well. It's a 2035. Let me
Cool.
double check that. It's right here. 2035.
Nice. Nice.
Um, so that's a cardioid large diaphragm condenser mic, and I put it like that far from my fiddle usually.
That's the spot. Yeah, I have mine's currently in banjo position because that's what I was recording most recently. But yeah, I put this I actually go to a higher stand and do the from above, like
So
6 inches from the F hole kind of
yeah, yeah.
situation for my home recording, which is becoming easier and easier. Like I just have that, and then I have a Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 interface that goes into
That's
my.
what I have.
I knew this was not irrelevant.
Exactly what I have.
Initially,
That's insane.
GarageBand, and now it goes into my Logic since my mom bought me Logic for Christmas. Um,
Yeah, go mom.
Thanks, mom.
We're using Cubase right now, which,
Oh,
it's like kind of like, is it a lot? We had Logic before. You can kind of like make it look the same if you want, but I'm sure it's similar.
amazing.
Yeah.
Um, Jess Baldissero, it has been so fun to catch up with you. I love your music. I love you, and thank you so much for coming on our show.
Oh, welcome. It's a joy to talk to you and miss you, buddy. Miss you around Chicago.
I know. We'll be back. We'll come visit. But for now, we can all watch this interview on repeat. We can watch Jess play Midnight on the Water and Shaking Down the Acorns at the links below, and then follow her on Instagram. Check out her forthcoming website. It might be up by the time you watch this video. And let's all play.
JessBaldissero.com.
There you go. That's what I do every morning is I check jessbaldissero.com,
Sure,
and
it's
one day it'll have like tour dates and recording links and everything.
Yes, it will. I have it all. It's all, the copy is done, brother.
Right.
It's coming.
Coming.
All right.
One day that link will be full of stuff.
That's right. That's right. All right. Thank you to everyone listening. Thank you, Matt. It's been a pleasure.